to begin by asking you, Admiral Sinha, removing the St. George's Cross, putting Shivaji's ensign in epaulets, and of course, this effort to Indianize ranks. Symbolic or important step? Are we getting rid of colonial era mentality truly?
Well, thank you, Gaurav, for getting me on your program. And best wishes of Navy Day to all your viewers and listeners and people who are my co-panelists here. These are not only symbolic, because the Prime Minister from day one has been saying that it is 75 years since our independence, and we must gradually move towards, having, indigenize the Navy, indigenize the Army and the Air Force. As you know, that some changes have taken place, as you mentioned, and the naval ensign proudly displays the Maratha symbol on it, and I think, Gaurav, we should be very happy. I would guess that very similar crest will appear on the epaulets, very similar one on the epaulets of the officers. As far as the ranks of our below officer rank is concerned, mind you, the British Navy does not have Master Chief Petty Officer, or didn't have when we had it. They made a Fleet Petty Officer, Fleet Chief Petty Officer much later than what we did. So to that extent, yes. But if you look at it very dispassionately, the Army, JCO and NCO ranks are already indigenous.
Yes.
Subedar, Havaldar, Subedar, Major. Yes, Major word is very much there from the old time. But most of them are prefixed by very, very Indian names, and therefore it's not difficult to find. If you see Coast Guard, all the ranks of our below officer rank, they're all very much Indian. Adhikari, Pradhan Adhikari, Mukh Adhikari and all that. And I'm sure we can find very similar sounding names.
Fair enough. Sani, Indian Armed Forces are huge on tradition to inspire future generation of warriors. But do we make a mistake of stopping just at the British era? Are our armed forces too much in awe of the British legacy to do away with that legacy? Jalsani. Okay, give me a moment as I try to establish my link with Jalsani. But Captain Sharma, when it comes to
I'm
ranks,
sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay, Jalsani, my question to you was, are Indian Armed Forces huge on tradition? That's how they inspire future generations. But why do they stop at the British era? Are we too much in awe? Are our armed forces too much in awe of the British Indian Army and too much in awe of that legacy to do away with it?
Gaurav, good evening. Delighted to be on your show. And firstly, again, as the Admiral mentioned, congratulations on Navy Day. I couldn't make out some of the conversation that happened before with the Admiral, but getting to your question, I think, may I say that from what I understood, the question that you asked, looking at whether this is just optics or is this really a requirement of a future India, of an India which is resurgent. So may I just say that before I come to the exact issue of what they've said today, I think some of the issues that Prime Minister Modi has initiated in this country, and I think starting off with re-looking at the Rajpath as Kartavya Marg, are great changes because it is to build in a national identity of a resurgent India. I think an India which is proud of its heritage, which is proud of its civilizational strength, and which is proud of being what it was, a big leader, a leading knowledge part of the future, a spiritual part of the world. So I think towards that, and any changes that are done to inspire confidence in the future youth who will get a national identity which is rooted in our civilizational strength, I think is the right thing to do. Issues like the point that you talked about, I think changing of insignias, dropping certain issues which were irrelevant and didn't really have any meaning in current date makes sense. And I think towards that, whether it is the changing of the badges of the rank or looking at what happened to the Navy flag or dropping the George's Cross, I think that is okay. Coming on to what you mentioned about, say, the armed forces today or for any of the other issues, I think one thing you have to remember, traditions, institutional, I would say, camaraderie are all rooted in historical excellences that have happened and tales of valor and courage that the past has contributed to build a unit to what its identity is today. And I think today that is one of the reasons which was seen in Kargil very obviously. People gave their lives willingly just for the izzat of the unit. So I think...
But why should that izzat of a unit, before I come to Captain Sharma, why should the izzat of the unit or a regiment in the cavalry come from people like Hodsons or Napiers, if I may?
Absolutely.
Hodson put down the first freedom struggle in 1857 and killed Bahadur Shah Zafar's sons. Why would a cavalry regiment be proud of being called not 4 horse as much, but Hodson's horse and have HH on their shoulders?
No, so let me just put it like this, that as far as the army list is concerned, all these units are listed as 1st horse, 4th horse, 14 horse, and not Sindh horse, Hodson's or Pune horse. What happens is, like today, if you see the changes that have happened in Delhi on the roads, some of the old names of cities are still used colloquially because there's a generation which was used to using that. So today, if you look at 4 horse or Hodson's or 17 horse, I would just put it that as far as the army list is concerned and where it is mentioned in official documents, none of these names which you have mentioned are carried and put in the official lexicon as far as the Indian Army is concerned. Yes, colloquially this is used. And may I just draw a quick analogy to what happened in Russia? I was 3 years in Moscow, as you're aware.
Of course.
And I think the first thing that really came out to my eyes was that we found all this place next to Park Kulturi, this very famous exhibition ground, a full garden at the back, which had all these broken statues. So I asked them, and they were being sort of given the place of honor or being sort of put in whichever manner that they were in a semi-broken state. And when I asked people, why was it? He said, I think there was a great euphoria when we broke away and became Russia from Soviet Union. And we sort of wanted to do away with all these insignias. But then in the end, we realized that it was also part of our history. You cannot wish away your history. So in the same analogy, today when these terminologies are used, Hodson's or Skinner's or Sindh horse, they are stories which are linked to the stories of valor where Indian blood also was spilt on the ground. They also won awards during that period. But officially, as I said, it's 4 horse and 1 horse, and it is not Skinner's or it's not Hudson's.
Because this is something that pains. This actually does. And I wonder if it's going to be picked up officially to get rid of names like Hodson's from the Indian Army, even colloquially in times to come.